Happy Wednesday! Welcome to my IG Live. It is lunchtime, it is Wednesday, and we're going to be discussing some good old horror stories today. And I have one of my good friends and colleagues, Hanifa McGaffie, today to discuss some real estate horror stories. But in the meantime, while we wait on her to log in, how you doing? No, sincerely, how are y'all doing? Like, today is Wednesday and it's a new day. So whatever happened yesterday, we're not even gonna worry about it. We're just gonna focus on what is happening today, and that's all that matters. Well, hey, ATL outlet, we really need to get back on and do another episode. I don't know whenever y'all will have me, but I would love to come do another episode at the outlet. Yay! Can we do another episode? Okay. Anyway, those episodes used to be so fun. We used to have such a good time. I always used to have such a good time. But no worries. Today we are going to be discussing some real estate horror stories. Real estate changes every day. There is not one day that is like any other day. So let's go ahead. Let's see. There she is. Hi, beautiful. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good. I was just literally just talking about you, how we were going to be discussing some real estate horror stories today.
Mm.
I feel like you have a couple horror stories. We both have been in the business a good little while, so I feel like there's some horror stories that you could share with us today. Is that true?
I think I have a few I could probably share.
Okay, fantastic. So jump right into it. Tell the people who you are.
Hanifa McGaffie, been in the business for almost 12 years. I think January will be about 12 years. And background was in finance until I moved over to real estate. Love what I do. It's not for the weak. It is not for. But I do love what I do, and I do enjoy all of my clients, whether they're a buyer, seller, investor, or otherwise. So,
Love it, love it. So let's just jump right into it, Hanifa. You and I both primarily do a lot of listings, meaning we do a lot with sellers.
true.
So sometimes sellers can be a little bit skewed on what they want to ask for their property. They don't really care about market value. They don't care about comps. They just pretty much want what they want. Do you
True.
have any stories about a seller who put a house on the market or wanted to list a house for whatever they wanted to list it for?
Oh, do I ever? I could think of one in particular. I met him, gosh, it had to have been easily 4 years ago or so.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a referral to me. He was an investor and soon found out that he was a new investor. So he was
Mm.
just newly on the market, buying properties, renovating them, selling them. And he decided he was going to venture into the Vine City area, which I actually have proposed that to several of my clients to consider that area, but it's
And
particular,
right
right?
before you move on, for those that don't know, what is the Vine City area or where is that area?
So that area is right near Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Okay.
So this was probably right when Mercedes-Benz Stadium first kind of opened up. Maybe it was a year or so after. So there was still a lot of development that needed to be done in that area. But knowing the area and knowing what was coming down the pipe, it was an area that I really was trying to press upon investors as to you might want to get in here now. So he was already in there. He had already purchased a home. He had already renovated his home.
Oh, wait a minute. That's air quotes.
He had,
I'm intrigued. These air
right.
quotes got me so intrigued.
So I do the air quotes for a particular reason because, he came to me having put the house on the market with no interest. So he decided to do what he should have done to begin with, which is work with a realtor even before he did the renovations. However, that's neither here nor there. Got
Mhm.
into the home, saw the home, and from the moment, literally from the moment I opened up the door, I knew we had a problem.
Wow,
Um,
that soon.
That soon. As soon as you open up the door. So it was, and I should say, Vine City has a lot of these small cottage old homes, right?
Mhm.
So if you're renovating one of these homes, there's a lot to be done. It's not one of these slap a lipstick on a pig and be done with it. There's typically a lot that needs to be done to these homes. So,
Because these are 100-plus-year-old homes. So
exactly.
a lot of them are going to have issues with floor joists that are 100 years old.
Exactly, which this
Gotcha.
one did. So, so yes, as soon as you open up the door, the issue was that there was a fireplace right there, and for whatever reason, he didn't think that he needed to move the fireplace. I mean, it was so small that you couldn't even fit a couch in there and open up the front door. Then
Wait
he
a minute.
had this
Wait a
really,
minute. Wait a minute. So as soon as you open the front door, there was a fireplace there. So
Mhm.
it was like a little weird shaped living room space
Yes,
that he didn't feel the need to reconfigure any of that space so that you're not walking through the front door into the fireplace.
apparently not.
It brings a whole new meaning to through the fire. All I'm saying, you go ahead.
Exactly. So this really repeated itself throughout the entire house. I mean, there were rooms that were too big, there were rooms that were too small, there were rooms that you had to walk through one area to get to another that was really
Wow.
awkward. There were there was a bathroom that literally was it wasn't a small bathroom, but the way they had it configured was there's a sink right at the door, and you had to open up the door and kind of shimmy in because the toilet was right behind the door. Now, mind you, it had a full bathtub in it, plenty of space to move things around, but for whatever reason, that didn't happen. But the
I can tell you
real
the reason that that didn't happen. They didn't want to change the floor plan because they
yeah,
knew that was going to cost them extra money to do. Because if you start moving toilets and sinks, you got to start moving water and pipes. So you
pipes.
ain't want to spend that extra money. That's why you got. But nobody wants to contort to get into the bathroom of their
No
house.
one wants to contort to get into the bathroom. But the most egregious thing that was in that house were the floors. I mean, when I say it felt like a roller coaster, I mean you were like
Wow.
and I immediately said, why were the floors not leveled? Oh well, they're fine, but they're not fine. Like literally they're not fine. And so much so that when you went to the back of the home, you felt like you were like walking down. So anyway, it was a mess. It was a
Huge
mess.
red flag.
I, you know, so what I did with him is I pulled comps. I showed him other investors in the area who had done really excellent renovations
Mm-hmm.
and that were asking the same amount that he was asking. And I wanted him to see the difference in quality, right? I
Mm-hmm.
needed him to understand just because we're in Vine City doesn't mean that you can just throw anything up and think it's going to sell. That's not what this is.
Mm-hmm.
And he just was not open to looking at the other renovations.
I
He
knew
said
it. I knew he didn't want to look at.
he
I
didn't
knew
want to
it.
look
I
at
knew he
them.
wasn't paying attention to none of that. Didn't
He
want to go
was
look at
like,
him. None of that.
no, he didn't want to look at them. He was very adamant that his renovations were just fine. And so, I put up the home at the price point he wanted, with the understanding that we were going to drop it if we didn't get any activity within the first 2 weeks.
And just
Once
out of
those
curiosity,
mhm,
how much over that market value was the house?
80,000,
I'm sorry,
80,000, 80,000,
80,000
80,000.
over market value.
Yes.
So his house was priced $80,000 over the last comp that had sold, or
Yep.
$80,000 higher than the area in general.
The last comp that had been sold.
That's a lot. That's almost $100,000 higher
It's almost $100,000 higher,
with
and it
roller
was
coaster floors.
with roller coaster floors and a bathroom you can't get into. So,
Mm-mm.
so, and a third bedroom that was actually in the basement that you had to leave the house to get to it. So there's that.
So
Um,
so how was it like listing this house? I mean,
It was
you know,
difficult because, as an agent and understanding the market, I already knew I was walking into a situation that wasn't going to be fruitful for either one of us. I was
yeah.
wasting the time, he was wasting his time. And but it's difficult when you're working with investors that were probably successful on maybe their first or second transaction, and they thought that they can just kind of repeat that same pattern going forward without really understanding that they're the area that they're in. So once we got to that 2 week mark, he wasn't willing to bring the price down. And at some point, I think it was probably a couple weeks after that, he was highly frustrated that it still hadn't sold. No one had come to even look at it, so on and so forth.
And that's all your fault,
Oh, it
by
was
the way.
absolutely my fault, right? Even though this was happening before he even hired me, but it's
It's
my
all
fault.
your fault because you're an agent. You're supposed to magically make buyers who don't care
I
anything about comps appear.
Exactly. I'm supposed to be a magician in this arena, which no, that's not what I do. I'm really good at a lot of things. Magic is not one of them. So, 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 um, long story short, he was highly frustrated at one point. Sent me a very nasty text message in which I immediately called him. One to explain to him how disrespectful he was being. He then proceeded to curse me out, and then I hung up on him. Within minutes, I had delisted his property, I removed my pictures, and I sent him a termination. Because what you're not going to do is talk to me any type of way.
Good for you.
So, there was that. And then I followed it for a little while. He relisted it with another agent, a male agent, and again, I saw that they listed at the price that he wanted at first, and then it dropped literally $80,000 and still didn't sell. So,
Gotta love that.
oh, you gotta love it.
But and it's like, a lot of times you'll have investors or sellers or people that want to do investing, and that's why we have the air quote renovations. They'll look at something that was done and like, oh, that's fine, but never in a million years would they pay someone to do that kind of work in their own home. So just be very mindful of the it's okay scenario when it comes to these investors. And I hate to say that typically some people will not tell you the full truth on stuff. I know plenty of investors who have had, people that lay tile, do painting, and vice versa. Because let's be clear, not everybody can paint and not everybody can lay tile.
Exactly. That is absolutely the truth. But and also, just making sure that if you're working with an investor, especially if they're new, right? Especially if they're new. Those who are very seasoned and you've seen their work and their work is impeccable, then really all you have to do is be a partner on the side in terms of making sure that you list the property and get it sold for them. But especially the ones that are new, being very adamant about you need to be part of that whole transaction from the very beginning as they're putting together the designs and all of that, because they think that they know what they're doing, but as realtors, we know the market. We know what buyers are looking for, right? We
Yes.
know that if you're going to build a $600,000 home, you need to have a pantry. Basic
And a coat
things that,
closet.
and a coat closet.
Yeah.
But there are things that as a builder, they're singularly focused, but then there are things that can be missed. That
Right.
if they had a realtor on board from the very beginning, would not be missed.
Right. There is going to be certain things that investors unfortunately don't think about. And sellers sometimes will bend the truth a little bit. Now, don't get me wrong, buyers will bend the truth as well.
Right.
There are going to be times when you're going to have to really pay attention. Hi, Marcus. You're really going to have to pay attention to what buyers and sellers are telling you because you can catch them in some lies.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever caught one of your buyers or your sellers in a lie before?
Yes, I have. I have. I had a client who came to me, I guess it's been about 2 years now, and he was pretty frantic because his home was going into foreclosure. This was a rental that he had.
I'm
Um,
sorry. A rental was going into foreclosure?
a rental was going into foreclosure.
Was it tenant occupied?
It was tenant occupied.
That's a
So,
whole another story, Hanifa. How is your tenant occupied property where a tenant is paying rent? How is your tenant occupied property going into foreclosure? That's a whole other story. You go right ahead.
so those are obviously some of my questions. How are we even at this point? How are you coming to me a month like before your house is literally going to be on auction block to try to fix the situation for you? He was giving me one story about, oh well, the tenant was kind of paying, sometimes not paying, and so on and so forth. The tenant was giving me completely different information, saying that he pays all the time and he's on time and he has no problem with paying. So two different stories, and there are certain things that need to be put in place with working with the seller. That's who I was representing. And I need him to give me access to his mortgage company. I need to be able to talk to them about where they are in the foreclosure. I need to figure out, can I have access to the attorneys that are managing that. If I can get him to pay the balance, what are the next steps. So all these different things. And every time I was going back to the seller, hey, I need you to do XYZ. Oh yeah, I took care of that. I'm calling the mortgage company. Okay, so he said he sent that. Nope, didn't receive it. I'm like, dude, like you're making this a lot more difficult than it has to be. um, Long story short, we ended up trying to sell it to the tenant. The tenant wanted the
Oh,
property. He said that he was, ready, willing, and able to purchase the property. Had even said that he had asked the seller to purchase it some years prior,
okay.
but the seller wasn't in the position and didn't want to sell at that time. And but then there was some issues around his financing. There was some cloudiness, I'll put it that way.
Mm. Let me guess. He was all cash.
He was all cash.
I love it.
He was all cash. And, since I was representing the seller, I had one of my colleagues who I very much trust represent him as a customer. She didn't want to really be fully involved, but she was willing to help him with the paperwork and such. And so, but as things were, were moving along, every time something would come up about the money, he's calling me, and I'm like, I cannot advise you on this. I need you to work through this. Come to find out, he had a money guy on the side who
Oh, we
was,
got a financial advisor. Okay,
yeah,
he
I guess
fancy.
that's a good way of putting it. Apparently, he was in the music industry somewhere, shape or form, and this guy handles, these celebrity people.
Don't
Um,
they all, honey? Don't they all? Don't they all?
so, you know, needless to say, there was lie after lie after lie, and we finally get to a point where everyone was in the understanding that we're actually closing. It took longer than it should have, but we got to the point where we were literally a week before closing, actually a few days before closing, and all of a sudden the buyer goes ghost.
Oh, lovely.
No responses to me, no responses to my colleague who was representing him as a customer. And so the day before, I'm calling him, texting him, calling him, texting him, nothing. He tells his financial planner, yes, I'm still moving forward. I'll be there at the closing. And we are sitting at the closing table and he doesn't show up. He sends me a text message saying that he's not going to close and he's walking away.
Girl.
Yes. And I try to get an understanding as to what was happening. He, again, was talking in a lot of circles, not really being very clear about what his situation was. His financial,
Lying. That's what he was doing.
that's what he was
Lying.
doing. His
Lying.
financial planner was trying to cover for him. Oh, I think he's having a mental breakdown, sir.
You having a mental breakdown. You wasn't having a mental breakdown 3 days ago when
3
I
days
talked
ago,
to
you
you.
were not. You were not. So yeah,
And that's
and this,
not, and let's be clear, it's not to say people can't have mental breakdowns.
no,
It
that's
is
not what I'm saying.
unlikely
That's
that
not
you
what I'm
had a
saying.
mental breakdown the day of
The
closing
day of closing, you had
versus
enough.
any other day.
He had enough common sense to send me a text message to let me know he wasn't showing up, and he hoped that he got his earnest money back.
He hoped.
No, you're not getting your earnest money back.
Wait. He literally asked you if he get
He
his earnest money back.
he asked me that day. He asked me 2 days later, and asked me a week after that.
He
No,
wasn't having no nervous breakdown. He
no,
wasn't. He was well within his mental capacity because he knew. Because wait, how much money did he have in earnest money?
oh, that was $12,000.
I'm sorry. What?
$12,000.
Oh yeah, he had no mental breakdown. He might have had a financial breakdown, but he had no mental breakdown. No,
So
absolutely not.
yes, yeah, he was upset, and I'm like, I'm not sure why you're upset. This was absolutely explained to you,
And it was
100%.
absolutely your fault. Like this is all your fault. But
All
to
your
your
fault.
point, it goes back to sometimes you have to literally peel back the layers
Right.
because everybody thinks that this is such a smooth, such an easy process. It can
Mm-mm.
get bumpy if you
Right.
don't know
Very
what
much so.
you're doing,
Yep.
especially when you're not reading those contracts. And I know you and I both, we work primarily with sellers, but we work with buyers too. And how many times have you had a buyer that had signed something and they didn't read what they signed? Even, it's like, hey, I'm sending you this, let me know when you have some availability. Let's go over it. And then next thing you know, it's already signed. But like, wait a minute, did you read it? Or you just signed it? Oh no, I just signed it. No, no, no. Well, you read it, right? No, no, I read it for comprehension. Do
Right.
you read it for comprehension? Let's go through this together so you understand what you're signing. And you can speak to this, but I see that happens more times than not in
Hmm.
new construction because those contracts are pro seller, pro developer. So
Yes.
have you kind of experienced that? Did you have a horror story when someone was dealing with new construction and
I
didn't read their
do.
contract?
I do. I had, and again, I believe she was referred to me. Don't recall from whom, but she was referred to me, and she had identified a new home community she wanted to be
Okay.
in Lithonia, and she had been working with the builder and had signed their contract. And apparently, after the fact, she read the contract and was had some questions. Well,
It's
that's
too
when
late once you sign the contract. You're supposed to ask those questions before you sign.
before you sign. So, and to your point, oftentimes buyers don't understand that walking into new home community with that agent there, it's all well and good. Of course, they're going to be cordial to you. Of course, they're going to be super nice to you. Of course, they're going to be like, oh, what can we do? Absolutely. They're going to be the ultimate professionals. But
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, that agent represents the builder. At the end of the day, if anything goes sideways, guess what? They're going to be looking at you like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't represent you. So I always tell, my buyers, I don't care what it is or who it is or which builder it is. You always need to have your own representation.
Yeah.
So this woman, she signed this contract, realized she had questions, came to me. I read the contract and I'm like, no, did you ask this question? Did you ask that question? Well, what about this? Well, what is this? Did you ask what this actually means? And the answers were no. Exactly. The answers were no. She was very upset that, she felt like it wasn't fair. Well, again, the builder's contract. This is not a contract for you.
Right.
And it took me to have to come in and try to negotiate, try to be ultra nice to the builder's agent. Hey, can we make this concession? Can we maybe change this? So on and so forth, being professional to understand that we're both trying to get to the same page.
Right. Because
And
once a buyer walks into a new construction community, it's all bright and shiny and it smells good and it's decorated
yes,
really nicely. So all the emotions at this point have been evoked. And so they're just sliding paperwork in front of you. You're signing your life away and then you're writing a check for the earnest money and it's almost done. And then you're
right,
realizing like, oh, I really didn't even understand what she was saying
stand.
about this. So yeah.
Right. So she was also, to get some clarity around her personality. She's very type A, I need things exactly how I want them, when I want them, on my timeline. And that was a very big challenge with her, because obviously contracts have deadlines need to be met and kept.
Yeah.
And
Time is absolutely of the essence.
essence, and she was very much like, well, no, I'm super important, I have this important job and I'm busy, and when I get to it, I get to it.
Oh,
Make
okay. Yeah, tell me how that works out for you.
Right. And so it was a challenge, making sure she understands, no, this is not about you and your timeline, this is about the contract and the contract's timelines.
And the timeline you agreed to when you
And the time
signed
that
it.
you signed, right? Then she felt like the builder was not being fair and maybe be doing some things that were underhanded. And I, asked her, I said, help me understand what makes you feel this way. Oh, well, my daddy is a contractor and he said this and he said that, and I should check this and check that. And I said, is your daddy a contractor here? Oh, no, no, he actually lives in Florida. Okay, so he's not a contractor here, and
Different
he
time.
doesn't work for this builder. Am I clear on that? No, he does not. So she took it upon herself to go
Ooh.
to code enforcement and to
Oh,
report
no.
the builder to code enforcement.
Mm.
So needless to say, the
That became a
builder,
very hostile
it
environment.
was a very hostile environment, so much so that the builder wanted to terminate. The builder's agent called me and he said, I'm about to give it to your client. Do you want to be on the phone or do you want to just hear about it after?
Oh wow.
Um, I was like, yeah, I want to be on the phone. I want to hear about
I
this
want to hear what's said.
because she didn't share that with me. I didn't know that she had done that. And so yeah, he laid into her and was like, they want me to terminate, but I'm going to give you one more chance. One
Wow.
more chance, that is it. If I hear anything else that is outlandish by your behavior at all, then we're terminating.
Wow.
We get to about a week before closing, we're doing our walkthrough with the builder. We're doing the blue tape, and we've covered the downstairs. We're upstairs. We've gone through the primary room. Now we're in this secondary room looking out onto the back of her property, and she's standing in front of me. I'm standing right behind her, and I can all of a sudden tell she's crying. And I'm like, just a second, what's happening? Because we've been good. All of a sudden she's crying. She turns around, now she's hyperventilating, and I'm like,
Now you got a medical emergency.
right? I'm like, what's happening? I was like, talk to me, what's happening? And then all of a sudden she passes out. And I just happened to be close enough to be able to catch her. The builder's agent, who was standing in the hallway, he politely just closes the door with us in the room, like,
We'll let y'all have y'all privacy.
exactly. I didn't know what was going on with her. She wakes up. I'm like, what's happening? Oh, this is too stressful. I don't know what to do, blah, blah, blah. Not that night, the very next day, she sends both myself and the builder's agent a termination and says she doesn't want to go through with it.
And in this scenario,
Hmm.
how much earnest money was lost?
This one was 8,000.
Mm.
8,000. I do know in her email she was, stating that she was expecting to get her earnest money back and she was going to fight for that. And I didn't even respond. I sent her termination and I was like, good luck with that. So
Wow.
yeah. So yeah, we have real estate and dealing with clients is not what social media might have you think, that it's all roses and cupcakes and rainbows.
Yeah, I
It's
mean, this is, I mean, well, this series is definitely on horror stories in real estate. So I know several people that have them, and you definitely had them. You
I
definitely have had them. I'm dealing with my own horror story right now in real estate. Hey, it is what it is. We
yep,
deal with it and we push through it. We move on.
that's
Hanifa,
true.
it was amazing having you on today. I'm so happy you agreed to do this with me today.
Thank
It,
you for inviting
I'm
me.
glad that you still have locks and they are long and they are beautiful. Because trust and believe, these stories that you're telling me, I'm shocked that you have not pulled them out one by one.
Well, they try to take me there. They try to take me there, but no.
I am so happy. So if anyone is looking for an amazing solution oriented agent, tell them where they can find you.
I am on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm with 14th and Luxe Realty. So my Instagram, my personal one is at Hanifa E7. My business Instagram is at Ujima Realty Group, and same on Facebook and same on LinkedIn. So
Fantastic. Kanifa, thank you so much again.
thank
Everybody join me
you.
every Wednesday at noon for lunch and a couple of little real estate conversations. I will talk to y'all soon. Y'all have a great week.
Thanks. Talk to you later.
All right, bye.